Chairman of SEBI on March 1st outlined 4 key objectives for SEBI: trust, transparency, technology and teamwork. And today we have a 5th T to elaborate on this. The author of all these statements, Mr. Tuhin Kanta Pandey, the new SEBI Chairman. Thank you very much, sir, for your time. Well, let me first start with the trust and the transparency part. The previous chairman had already set in motion the controls on FNO. We saw the first tranche of controls came in, only 1 expiry per week per exchange. We are eagerly awaiting the second set of rules. When do you think we will hear of it, and what will be the main, constraints, if any?
I think the SEBI had put out a consultation paper, yes, and we received about 800 comments. Yeah. Some supporting the position, some suggesting some alternatives, something in between. So we will take a considered view and will come. Basic premise is that we should make systemic improvements and also provide, while the F&O market is very important market for price discovery, for hedging, we also don't want it to be, like reduced to one single problem that we were facing on index options on the expiry day. Yeah. That was our key problem area. So therefore we need to, clearly define the risk metric, and we are trying to, we'll bring the delta in terms of, the options.
Yeah, I thought it was more, besides the risk metric, the end of day counting of options or intraday. And it is now, there were enough articles written on it that the intraday positions are so high that some limits need to be put, and the limits should not only be on end of day. So should we expect that there will be intraday limits? Because that's where the HFTs seem to be taking the game away.
I think we will have to take a clear call on not really exactly what we had proposed in the paper, but exactly what will be more practicable, and taking into consideration all factors. So we will bring about necessary changes accordingly.
Okay, you can't give us any clue on whether it would be intraday or end of day limits?
Not at this moment.
Okay. All right. Let me come to the other issue that is rankling the market on this trust transparency issues, and that is this SME IPOs, sir. I mean, we have seen Gensol is now. Just before that, we had that, I think it was Trifactor Technologies. There are enough number of SME IPOs. Are there some new rules being written? There is an inherent conflict. When you ask the exchanges to control them, they make money out of them. So it doesn't seem to be they don't seem to be functioning as a first line of control.
I think one of the objectives of bringing SME IPO a little light touch regulation for them was exactly to facilitate the SMEs to access capital markets, where the cost of accessing we have to see the cost is relatively down, and it is easier for them to access capital markets. So we have a very large number of SMEs, and so therefore in order to enable them to do that, whether we could have the same onerous requirements as the main board was the issue. Yes. And it was, so I think we are watchful if there are certain aspects where we have, for example, brought in some changes in terms of profitability criteria, in terms of usage and deployment of funds post IPO, also on the fact that this money cannot be simply used by loan repayment of the promoters. But I think the merchant bankers, they need to do a better thing on this, and we expect
But do you expect it to remain with the exchanges because there seems to be a conflict of interest?
I don't think that is, in a way, in anything, even if it is approved by the SEBI, the exchanges will have to be paid their fees. So therefore the transactions will have to be carried out in the exchanges. Okay. So only the processing part, like, clearing the document, that was something which was SEBI passed it on to. But we will be watchful of the situation, and if we find that, if we find that this is a very widespread phenomenon, even after whatever the changes that we have anticipated, then we will review it.
The second tranche of F&O rules, when should we expect it?
Well, I can't give you the deadline, but...
No, I mean in a month,
yeah,
a broad ballpark.
I think very shortly, yes. Within a month, I think we should be able to arrive at, yes.
Okay. Now let me come to the other issue that you have already announced as one of your first announcements. This conflict of interest disclosures for SEBI's own officers. Do you notice any gaps in the current disclosures?
Well, this is not only for SEBI's officers, but also about the SEBI board members, including chairman.
Yes.
So the gap is, I think, one is 2008. This was set for the board members. Then there are ESR regulations, which are even older, which is employees service regulations. There are certain disclosures which are made within. There are certain conflict of interest clauses are being applied within. People are recusing. However, there is very little public exposure. There is in fact no public disclosure of the conflict of interest. Even we don't have even disclosures of properties and other things.
Even other government officials don't disclose to us. It is to the appointments committee or whoever they disclose. We don't get to hear.
No, but at least some disclosures are there. Even, for example, the property returns, the immovable property, even for all government servant, is out. And I think SEBI also is slightly a regulator where we find that we should be more proactive in terms of this regime. And secondly, we also need to have comfort for those who are working within SEBI as to how they need to conduct, in many cases,
You mean the lateral entrance?
Not only lateral entrance, even the people who are employees, they also need to, when they are passing orders or, dealing with the case.
They need to know.
They need to very clearly know where it will fit. So I think we have to update that particular, both the ESR and the board resolution. Secondly, we also need to have a framework how they would be recorded, because we need to know who has recused for what and rationale, so that have some database, and also have public disclosures.
Okay, so that is a big thing. So you expect that it will be a public.
So public disclosures, to what extent the public disclosure should be made, in what cases should be made, how it could be mitigated. Suppose somebody seeks the thing, then how that particular complaint, etc., could be processed. If there is we will, the committee obviously will look at the best practices for other regulators in the world as well. And I think we will be pushing forward this important subject.
The fundamental difference will be that you will make things more public.
I think both. We have to also need to have more clarity internally as to how they will rest, how they will be processed.
Okay, fair enough. Now, you've made repeatedly a statement that there is a compliance burden. Are you of the view that SEBI is over-regulating?
I think so. I think in many areas we can have a much simpler regulation. Many regulations were, contextual in nature, and some of them have been changed also. For example, LODR was completely changed in 2018. Similarly, the regulations were updated, but not all of them. So therefore, there is a need for relook at the regulations. Many times context have changed. Many times, a better way of regulation may have come simply because you have a better technology now.
No, my fear is that as it is, there are scams. I mean, we had Gensol, like I told you, there were 2 or 3 SME IPOs. Even if I do a Google for the last quarter, we have seen 3 or 4 scams come out. It doesn't look like over-regulation. It looks like more regulation is needed.
No, I mean, simply you write a regulation doesn't mean that it is there is a difference between implementation and a regulation. That is what the effectiveness of regulation is. Like wherever the risk is higher, that is where we have to concentrate. If we try and ask too much of micro, that may not be our game. Secondly, we also have to clearly say that we can't be in every boardroom. So the question is it asking too much of a tick boxing? In many a case, it is a false disclosure. The disclosure will come, but that's false.
Yes, that's what we discovered.
So therefore, what we need to do is how effectively you can have a check and balance where these disclosures are stemmed in the bud.
But is there a feeling in government that there is over-regulation? Because that seems to be the general feeling that, and I think it also may kind of demoralize people within SEBI also. If you're constantly told that you have you've overdone, you're over-regulated.
No, SEBI,
doesn't it?
Number one, this is not something that I'm telling SEBI. All our staff are fully engaged and energized into re-looking at things. Many a time they have been feeling also. See, the question is, it's like a spring cleaning. Many a time what happens is when you are in your house, and not that this is something which is happening for the first time. I must give credit to successive leadership in the SEBI that from time to time they have re-looked at it, they have contextualized it, they have brought in new regulations, they have shed the old. So it's not something that like it is like spring cleaning. Every time you keep on doing it, every Diwali you want to do it something, and then you accumulate, and then you shed also, and you contextualize. This is something which is exercise which is really being done by all the divisions. I mean, they have begun it. They are enthusiastically doing it in terms of, because it is also when you are having a regulation, and if there is too much of information, then you have to also process too much of information. If you just bring that information and just keep it rest, then what's the point? So therefore, they would also like to be, they would like to be smarter. So I think SEBI wants to be a smart regulator.
Okay. Well, let me come to the other issue of, ASBA for secondary market. This blocking of the amount for primary markets was done for IPOs, and we were expecting it will happen in the secondary market. Is that something which is on the anvil?
Yeah, we are looking into it.
Okay.
We are looking into it.
But will it take a long time?
I will let you know. I mean, I'll just have to take a stock of the situation.
Because the brokerages are sitting on a lot of money. There was somebody the other day who said that some 4.5 lakh crore of customer idle funds are sitting with custodians, with brokerages. I mean, why are people able to offer zero brokerage? Because float is there, they're making money on that. So will ASBA in secondary market be a priority for SEBI?
No, I think we have to really see the whole ecosystem moves together.
Okay.
And as you say that, the level of float has come substantially down in our system. The India itself, took a lead in going to T+1 settlement. US has now followed suit. Several jurisdictions. I was in US and we had a meeting with several security regulator in the context of the IMF ISCO spring meetings. And there are many people who are still in a much different regime.
But it is under consideration. Should we expect some rules?
Yes, I mean, it's under examination, as I said.
Okay. Let me take a quick break, sir. Back with a few more questions. In fact, lots more questions to the SEBI chairman. Welcome back to this very special chat with the newly appointed chairman of SEBI. Well, not quite newly. He's been around for over 45 days, Mr. Tuhin Kanta Pandey. Thank you very much for your patience, Mr. Pandey. Let me come to this T+1 settlement that we were talking about just before the break. SEBI is also pushing T+0. Will there be more of that? Because that also reduces the float, makes money more active and efficient. Will we see more of it?
Well, T+0 was intended to be optional.
Yes, optional only.
So right now, I think we will rest at that. Let it be optional.
Yes, yeah. Yes, of course. No, the system cannot be imposed, but you will try and push T+0. There is no rethink on that, is there?
No, I mean, we are neutral about it. As I said, we have brought in the T+0. It is an optional system. The technologies, etc., have been tested. So, I mean, we have to really see how the ecosystem moves and how there will be a comfort level of the wide variety of issuers and investors and things like that. And what kind of plumbing is there? What kind of problems are there? There are FPIs. How would they move the monany? I mean, there are...
It's to their advantage. I mean, if they get T+0, they will get money on the same day when they sell. They should be happy, if anything.
No, that's true, but that is not the kind of thing is there. You should ask them also.
No, I did speak, and some of them were very happy.
They may have procedural issues, many of them, of trying to move the money, and different time zones are there, different things are there. I think India has taken an initiative, and our security markets continues to take the initiative in its own unique way, but we should take people along.
Okay. What about the NSE IPO? Can you give us some updated headline on that? They have come to you again. Will it be round the corner?
Well, there are certain issues which are going back and forth. I think there have been
Is it that co-location litigation case which is the prime roadblock?
I think that is one case where I think some solutions can be found in terms of settlement, etc. And there is a technology architecture issue, then there is a governance, and then is a clearing corporation. In these, all of these things, I think there is an active interchange between the exchange and the SEBI, and we intend to look at positively forward to, not as a procrastinating device, but actually to make it happen.
Okay, but Clearing Corp, their argument usually is that BSE has been allowed. Why are we being asked to reduce our stake?
That's the point. I mean, but at the same time, we have to really keep in mind that it's substantial, is 90% of the market share, market thing is. So we have to see keeping in view the market integrity in others, how we will basically it's a question of a roadmap. What kind of roadmap we should agree upon.
Okay. So should we expect it in a year, in 6 months? Is there anything you have in mind?
We will let you know. Frankly, it's a bit early for me to jump the gun, but there have been technical discussions on, and we'll come to a finding. But again, I said with a view to find a solution, and not to permanently, park that question.
Okay. Fair enough. The other issue was, in the previous regime, there was a regulation enacted that if FPIs have more than 50% exposure to one stock, then all the granular details should be revealed. I think it was, they went through the entire stage and almost everyone revealed. But there was still a little bit of people who would have been disqualified because they did not reveal. Can you share any numbers as to how many funds have still to reveal or were disqualified because they didn't give you the final granular details? What is the amount of money involved?
This reduction in cases where
it
did not reveal the full granular disclosures as required, could not be there, and therefore their registrations were rendered invalid. This is about 1% of the total FPIAs.
Okay, I just have a couple of questions on mutual funds. One is the TER, the total expense ratio. What happens is SEBI has a TER limit. that top funds compete and they fix their TER very close to what SEBI has mentioned. So it becomes, it is not related to your performance. Ultimately, your expense should be related to your performance. It doesn't work that way. What happens is SEBI's limit becomes the limit for the market. Any rethinking on the TER?
See, first of all, I will not agree with your point that the fixation of an upper ceiling TER is a way to cartelize, because that is an upper ceiling. You can always compete.
It tends to be, is all I'm saying.
That is always competing. Now, if you see, for example, the brokerage. In the brokerage, you have an upper ceiling of 2.5%. But there are people who are offering zero also. Similarly, debt funds. If there is a ceiling of 2% or whatever, you have people offering much less.
In equity, you don't see that.
So, in equity also, the people will compete and the people will do that. So, right now, I think what we should say, we should not look at as simply removing the ceiling. Okay. Will not mean that, the people will not, you are saying that everyone is crowding around the...
Yeah, it's somehow the TER is not related to performance. It has become like that. It has become everyone congregating around SEBI's limit. Yeah, in equity, that's what's happening.
I think in many cases, people are looking at performance in a variety of ways. I think when the investors are looking at returns, they are looking at... So, they are not necessarily looking at TER also. So,
yeah. But they don't look at TER. They look at performance only. But I'm only saying that funds are getting away with it.
Upper ceiling is not really the reason for which, you are saying they're crowding at that upper ceiling.
It tends to be, that's what everyone fixes as their TER, somewhere close to the SEBI's limit. Okay, while on the matter, sir, there was also that investment product between mutual funds and PMS. We were expecting new rules to come on that special investment unit.
Yes, the new regulation framework has already been out. Okay. Now we have received 2 applications also from 2 AMCs. Okay. So I think in a matter of 10 days, we would have cleared them.
Okay. Just a final question on the market volatility. SEBI had asked previously for stress testing of mutual funds. If there was something very adverse in the global market because of tariff wars or other geopolitical concerns, would you worry about mid-cap and small-cap mutual funds? They have volume only because investors rushed in. But if there is a rush of redemptions, then there will be stress. They may not be able to pay immediately. So any stress testing moves from SEBI?
I think it's a very important question, and stress testing actually not only should be done, but actually SEBI has also got it done. Yes. For small cap and mid cap in 24. It was done, and the results have also been released. Mm-hmm. So on directions of SEBI, MFI, directions to MFI, all the stress testing results have been in the public domain. We also intend to do stress testing for others also.
Which would be?
For others. These are the small cap and mid cap, okay, but for others also. So therefore, I think it's an important thing to know what happens. And
are you somewhat confident that if there is huge volatility, the market will be able to still function normally?
Absolutely. I think we have buffers and we have mechanisms. To give you an example, the kind of settlement guarantee fund which is there, that has been more than doubled in the last 5 years, and it has worked as also our system works as more like a counter-cyclical, and the margins are 11% plus, which is much higher than the SGX margin of 5%. We have also, as I said, the funds moved up to clearing corporation. They are lien to corporations, not at the broker level. Where Securities directly getting credit, not through brokers, but directly given that. So this is another element. I think at different levels we have created. And then we have also that, CMDF fund, which is the, for any redemptions, etc., on unusual redemptions, we have that support backstopped fund as well.
So we are somewhat prepared, but of course one hopes that we don't have to use them. Finally, as you end, say, one quarter, what is your goal? What do you want achieved in a quarter? What do you want achieved in your first year?
Well, I think it's not my achievement really. I think the SEBI is a very robust institution. It carries on, and we keep overseeing the markets, we develop the markets, we do investor protection. That's our mandate, and we'll continue to improve ourselves, challenge ourselves to do better.
Okay.
With the help of every stakeholder. As I said, 4 T's, the teamwork, which is more external and internal teamwork, media included.
Okay. We'll try and pose tough questions. That may be our rule. Thank you very much, Mr. Pandey, for sparing time for CNBC TV18.